Hari Om. So let's see, after completing the yoga teacher training and going through these traditional yoga practices, how you're going to integrate all of these practices at home. And it's an important subject, what we learn during this program, how to adapt and implement these various techniques and fit them into my day-to-day life at home, and what is most important, what is least important, what should be practiced every day, what can be practiced once in few days. So let's see. Now for this practice that we are going to do at our home, the purpose and objective of this practice has to be very clear. Why I am doing this practice? In simple terms, we can say health. We are practicing these techniques for achieving the health, physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. Physical health includes the strength, flexibility to our body, muscles, joints, strengthening of digestive system, lungs, improving lung capacity, improving the cardio, respiratory fitness, strengthening immune system, nervous system, hormonal system. The mind aspect, the purpose is to get rid of stress and have peaceful state of mind, which is also concentrated and focused, which is creative. This state of mind is free from anxiety, is free from sadness and depression. And then the purpose of yoga is to have the experience of oneness, which is a spiritual dimension. So my home practice should be focused on physical, mental, and spiritual health. With this objective, with this purpose in our mind, let's decide what practices we can include. Now I'm going to divide these practices into some practices that are daily practices and some practices that are not daily, but you can practice them once in 15 days, once in a month, or maybe 2 times in a month. It's up to you. But certainly not possible to practice them daily. The first practice, the daily practice, which is the most important practice in any type of yoga practice, that is mantras. Mantras are positive thoughts which create a positive direction. As I think, so I become. But how to think? The mantras give guidelines. They give training. They give practice to us to learn this habit. Yoga says when you get up, you should start your day with mantras and not with any negative thought or not with just worrying or getting stressed about things that's going to happen in future or thinking about what happened yesterday or day before. So mantras is a very good way to start our day. Omkar is the best mantra to get the focus back and get rid of the stress. Some of the studies have indicated that Omkar can deactivate the stress within 10 minutes of chanting. Then of course asanas and pranayam, they are also part of daily practice. You can't say once in a week, twice in a week asana. That's not enough. Like we need food every day, like we need sleep every day, our body also needs asanas and pranayam every day. So we will have to make space for including mantras, asanas, pranayam in our day-to-day life. Along with this, Yoga Nidra and Omkar. I have already spoken about Omkar. But Yoga Nidra is also another important technique of relaxation. All through the day, we are doing many activities that create stress. So it is necessary that we also practice relaxation. And Yoga Nidra is a deep relaxation. Half an hour of Yoga Nidra relaxation is equivalent to 3 hours of deep sleep. And this is going to keep us more healthy. The continuous stress reaction is responsible for a lot of stress related disorders. In fact, all of the stress related disorders, if you can practice relaxation, you can help yourself. You can achieve good health and you can be free from these disorders. And then meditation is again an important practice of concentration of our mind. You can practice meditation early in the morning, or you can practice meditation just before going to bed. A simple meditation of Om chanting is really powerful. Or a prana meditation where you're focusing on the breath and just keeping the focus on the breath and watching all the thoughts in an impartial way. Developing mindfulness is also another good way of meditation. Or another good way of meditation is doing the chakra meditation, focusing on Ajna chakra in eyebrow center, or Vishuddhi chakra in the throat, Anahata chakra in the heart, or Manipur chakra in the abdomen, in the navel region. Any of these chakra meditations can be also used with benefits. Now the monthly practices, or you can say occasional practices, can be Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is a action done with non-attachment to the fruit of the action and done with a sense of responsibility. You can compare Karma Yoga with volunteering. There are many different studies that say that the people who are involved in volunteering activities few hours in a week, their health is better. So it does have a positive influence on our mind and subsequently on our body. Then you can also practice the SWAN principle, the self-analysis tool developed by Swami Niranjanananda of Bihar School of Yoga. It's a practice of Jnana Yoga. Understanding my strengths, understanding my weaknesses, realizing what ambitions I have, and developing true understanding of my needs helps me analyze myself in a better way. And this analysis does offer me empowerment. I know myself better. Then I can control myself in a better way. And SWAN analysis is a very good monthly practice, or maybe it can be done once in 2 months. Then cleansing techniques such as neti, the nasal cleansing, vaman or vomiting the water. These are the practices that should not be done every day. However, you can do these practices once a week or once in a month, or maybe generally when the seasons change, you should do these practices. Along with this, partial master cleanse can also be done once in a fortnight. Partial master cleanse is where you drink 2 glasses of salt water You can add lemon to it also. And then you perform 4 sets of exercises. This include Tadasana 6 times, Tiryak Tadasana, palm tree pose 6 times, the bending palm tree pose 6 times, twisting pose 6 times, cobra with a twist 6 times, then twisting, stretching abdomen movement 6 times. So these movements can be done after drinking the water on an empty stomach once in 15 days. Then let's move to asanas. How much asana practice you should do every day? The recommended duration of asana practice is not more than 1 to 2 hours. At least 1 hour or at least 45 minutes one should practice the asanas every day. Now what to cover in this asana practice? Of course, everyone has their different views. Everyone has their own experience. So I'm not going to give a lot more details about what to include in your daily practice, but I'll certainly recommend few types of asanas that will help. And also I will tell you about how to practice this pose and what are the different effects if you practice it in different ways. Sun salutations is a very important practice that one should include in the daily life, in the daily practice. At least 12 sun salutations, which may not take more than 7 to 8 to 10 minutes, maximum 10 minutes you will take for 12. If you are wanting to practice the cardio exercise, you can practice 108 maybe once in a week or once in a month. That's a very good workout. It takes about half an hour, or if you're doing it slow, then maybe 45 minutes to practice 108 sun salutations. Then you can include various preparatory movements also as warm-ups, focused on different joints, waist joint, neck joint, shoulders, elbows, wrists, knees. And these preparatory movements are a good way to align different tendons and ligaments in your joint. And that helps when you actually practice asanas. Then the master cleansing asanas can also be practiced as warm-ups. And then there are certain warm-ups for different asanas like knee warm-ups and hip warm-ups for lotus pose. So different warm-ups can be included in your class. Of course, one will include forward bends, back bends, side bends. Also meditative pose we include generally to start the asana, or when we sit in meditation, or when we do pranayam, we include the meditative pose. We certainly include shavasana or relaxation positions like shavasana and makarasana as well, or even the vajrasana yoga mudra, called it a child's pose. So all these positions are there, but along with that, twist, inversions and balancing positions, at least one each from these categories, is very helpful. The twist is certainly very helpful for the whole of your spine. These days, the backache is a very common problem because of our lifestyle, because of the sitting jobs, because of the mobile habits. Many of us have backache. The twists have the power to help us here. If we practice twist every day, we may not even have backache. So twists are very good for strengthening your spine, but along with this, the twists are also good for your core digestive organs, vital organs. certainly improves the blood circulation in these core organs. Then inversions such as shoulder stand, Sarvangasana, or Viparit Karani, inverted pose, or even headstand, Shirshasana. When you're doing the inversions, the blood from your legs and your pelvic region and the abdominal region flows to the heart. That of course strengthens the blood circulation, strengthens the heart also. But along with that, because the blood flows down from these vital organs and then the fresh blood again goes there, the blood circulation is improved. The pelvic region, the blood circulation is improved. The reproductive glands, the blood circulation is improved. So inversions are really important. At least one inversion every day should be there in your asana practice. It's good for hormones, it's good for heart. Balancing position is very good. Any balancing position, may it be tree pose, may it be crow pose, may it be arm balances, or even just one leg standing pose. These balancing positions, they certainly challenge the nervous system and improves the neuromuscular coordination. And to be able to practice these positions, our mind needs to be focused. So they are certainly good to focus the mind, and that has a positive beneficial effect on the nervous system. So balancing positions are very helpful for nervous system. Now when you're going to practice the asanas, there's one interesting technique that you can try for yourself. It will certainly help you deepen your asana practice. It will help you become flexible sooner. What is this technique? So you practice one pose in two different ways in the same session. The first is you practice the pose at 70% of your maximum. So I check how far I can bend in Cobra pose or Bhujangasana. That is my maximum, and then I go down to 70%. And that 70% position I hold for a little longer, say maybe 1 minute or more than 1 minute. And when I release that pose, again I practice the same pose, but this time I increase the intensity of the pose and I make it at 90% of my maximum. But I hold it for short duration. That is about 15 seconds, less than 15 seconds, maybe even 7-8 seconds. And this practice is going to make me more flexible. I can see the results within 15 days. Of course, you can focus only on 3 to 4 asanas for say 2 to 3 months and improve your practice for those asanas. Then you can select other asanas. If you include 10 asanas, then you may have injuries because your body can't really take this strong practice for all the different types of asanas. So make sure you focus on only 3 to 4 asanas and do it in this way. 70% pose, hold it for long, and then take the same position, hold it for short duration, but the intensity is 90%. Then moving ahead, pranayam. Of course, we all include pranayam, different pranayam practices, but I'm going to recommend you some important and interesting additions to this, and that is about bandhas, bandha or locks. Agnisar is actually a cleansing technique, but it involves a very strong breath hold outside, and while holding the breath outside, you move the abdomen in and out very fast. And this is very crucial technique to stimulate the digestive system and improves the digestive function. But along with that, it's a strong workout in the abdominal region, which gets rid of the fats, accumulated fats. And these fats in the abdominal region are known to be very bad for our health. They can cause a lot of health complications, health conditions in future. So it's important that you get rid of this, practicing Agnisar. And Uddiyana Bandha is abdominal lock. Abdominal lock is done when you exhale fully and then suck in the abdominal wall. The whole of abdomen is sucked in because there is no air in your lungs, and abdomen also there is no air in your stomach, I mean. Now this practice is very relaxing for your nervous system because of the stimulation to the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic nerve given in this Uddiyana Bandha. It's very powerful practice for our mind. Of course, it improves this practice, and Agnisar practice improves the blood circulation to all of the digestive organs and also to the lungs and heart. Very strong practice to improve the blood circulation. So you can start pranayam with these practices. Then you can go ahead for relaxation and breath awareness in pranayam. And then you can include 3 different types of pranayam practices. First is dynamic practice, then balancing, and last is relaxing. Dynamic practices can include fast breathing or Kapalbhati. What is dynamic? This is hyperventilation. Normally we breathe 15 times a minute, but in fast breathing, that rate of breathing, respiration, is going up to 120 breaths per minute. Almost 9 to 10 times than our normal respiration rate. Fast breathing involves inhalation and exhalation of same intensity. So fast inhalation, fast exhalation. Or you can include Kapalbhati, which is fast exhalations only. But again, the speed is same, 120 per minute. That's maximum. Of course, you can do it at 60 exhalations or 60 fast breaths in a minute, or even up to 40, 50. That is still considered fast breathing. Total, you can restrict the number of rounds up to say 200 to 500 times, not more than that. Because these are very strong stimulations to the sympathetic nervous system and they increase the heat in our body. Then these dynamic practices are going to also reduce the carbon dioxide levels and enrich our oxygen levels, saturate our oxygen levels to the maximum. Then after that, you can go for Nadi Shodhan or alternate nostril pranayam with or without bandhas. If you know the technique how to practice with bandhas, then you can go ahead with that. If not, it's safer to practice it without bandhas. You can practice it from 5 to 15 minutes depending on the time available to you. The fast breathing Kapalbhati, if you're doing it 200 times, then it may just take about 2 minutes, not more than that. Nadi Shodhan is, you can practice it in any ratio. You can choose the ratio 4 seconds inhalation, 8 seconds exhalation, or 5 seconds inhalation to 10 seconds exhalation, or 6 to 12. But don't stretch your ratios too high. Then after that, you can end the practice with relaxing pranayam. You can include either just deep breathing or Bhramari pranayam, the humming bee pranayam, where you exhale with the sound of humming bee. Or you can practice Ujjayi pranayam. Ujjayi pranayam is the sound of air, the friction sound in your throat. It's not the sound from vocal cords like Bhramari. Then Shitali and Sitkari are cooling pranayams. Again, these pranayams you can do in the similar ratio to Nadi Shodhan Pranayam. They're 1:2. So ratio is 1:2. It means 4 seconds inhalation, 8 seconds exhalation, or 5 seconds inhalation, 10 seconds exhalation, or 6 to 12. If you put your pranayam practice in this sequence, it is very helpful. You start with dynamic pranayam, then you go for balancing one, which also has a positive effect on left and right hemispheres of your brain, the balancing pranayam I mean, and relaxing pranayam, the overall relaxing effect on the entire nervous system. Then other than asanas, pranayam and mantras and karma yoga, you can consider these practices. Silence, maybe a day in a month, or if it is difficult, one day, then maybe couple of hours every day. Say morning time, 6 to 8. I'm not going to talk to anyone. I'm not going to answer any phone. It's just for my silence practice. Such strong resolves will certainly help in my yoga practice, but just not yoga practice, but also in my day-to-day life. Silence practice is one of the austerity measures. And austerities are connected with strengthening of our willpower, increasing our prana. You can also maintain a spiritual diary to become more aware of what happens in my day-to-day life, how I think, how I experience my emotions, what are my daily habits, what are the positive ways that I look at my life, what are the ways that are negative in my life. Keeping track of my day-to-day life in a spiritual diary is a good way to improve the quality of my life. Then chanting the mantras with fire is a very good way to concentrate the mind. It's very helpful to get rid of our negative states of mind. Generally, the Mahamrutyunjay mantra, the mantra for healing, you can use. You can do this fire ceremony. If you don't have any fire ceremony, just light a candle and chant a mantra looking at that flame. Mahamrutyunjay mantra is a very good option because all of us, the health is our priority. Mahamrutyunjay mantra is for healing and health. Then self-study, swadhyaya, is again very important on the path of yoga. We have to keep ourselves in this habit of studying ancient texts or any text related to yoga. We can learn from experiences of different people. We can learn from this ancient wisdom. We can include new practices from these books. We can change our practices according to these recommendations. Then a very important practice, but we have kept it as other practice, that is diet. Yoga gives great importance to good dietary discipline. The vegetarian food, the sattvic food, less processed food, eating only 2 times, eating in moderation, eating freshly cooked food and not the preserved food. So all these guidelines, you can slowly integrate them in your diet. Reducing the high calorie food, reducing the high levels of sugar and salt, avoiding fatty foods. All of these things you can integrate slowly, not just one day. Because if you just do it one day, everything, then probably you will go back to the normal food habits within few days. So you integrate small part, one part after every 15 days. Then also it's recommended that you should visit a place like ashram, where you can move away from your day-to-day life in the nature. Bring your habits in line with the mother nature. Focus inwards. Reflect. Make fresh resolves. Re-energize your practice so that you can go back into your day-to-day life and improve the quality of your life. So these are the different practices you can do at your home